Morning. Hi. Hope you're all okay. I'll just check that I'm live where I'm supposed to be. Have you had a lovely weekend? I think I'm live. It doesn't show my face though. I hope we've all had a lovely weekend. We've been decorating the children's bedrooms, and I think we were this close to divorce at some point. Hands up if you knew that IKEA beds are made to European sizes, so a UK single mattress is too small. We did not know that until after we'd spent hours building the beds, painting the rooms, building the beds, and then popped their mattresses on to find there's this much freaking gap at the end. I swear to God, Tom, I've never seen a face like it. Now it's highly hilarious, but it definitely was not at the time. So that's been my weekend. What have you all been up to? So this morning, I am here to talk about launching new events and products. If you're here, come and say hi. I can see we've got people on already, and I can never find you in the Facebook group. Yay. So I'm going to talk about launching new events or products. Jade's going to walk in halfway through because she's been at the orthodontist today. So yeah, it's going to all just be a usual live of mine. Morning, Jenna. Oh, you've got some exciting stuff going on. Hello, my darling. I haven't seen you for ages. Oh, yay. Morning, Kay. Hi. You've definitely got a new product to start looking at launching. So first thing, I have to find the list of what I'm supposed to cover. First thing, find your audience. I'm not going to go into this hugely on this training. You all could not hear me banging on more about finding your ideal clients. I've made a training on it. I can whack you the link in if you've not done it yet. Finding your audience and marketing your product to the right audience is the overarching most important thing. You can have the best product in the world, you can market it brilliantly. If you're not talking at and to the right people, you will hear crickets. And that's a really sad thing when you spend all this time and effort going to making something that you know would be great out in the world. Morning, Anisha, you're right. And then you hear nothing about it. It's soul destroying. It's absolutely devastating. But that's exactly what will happen unless you are talking to the right people. So your ideal client stuff, I'll go over and over and over. People are so sick of hearing me talk about it. But your ideal client stuff is absolutely everything. And when I'm talking about ideal client, I'm meaning the people who share the same problem that you are trying to fix. And that's super important. Oh, I've got a comment on that. I don't know who it is. Hang on. If you're new to StreamYard, just above my face where all the text is, if you click see more, there's a link you can click on to see who it is. It's Marie. Hi, Marie. I feel like we should know this for you now. So yeah, I'm talking about the group of people whose problem you solve. And this idea of problem solving seems to get people stuck a lot of time, but every single thing you create is solving a problem for someone. Now, a lot of the time, they might not even know they have a problem in the first place, but it's always something you can act on. So let me just look who's on. So Sharon is solving a problem for people who want to create brilliant celebration cakes that are better than Tesco's, but have no idea how to do it themselves. They want something perfectly designed for their child, their mum, whatever it is. Kay is creating a business writing memoirs. So she's solving this huge problem of stopping people's memories just disappearing for life. There's nothing I would have loved more than to be able to read a book about my granddad's life. And sadly, that'll never happen now. Anisha makes cakes for weddings, like the most stunning, unusual, certainly not traditional generally, wedding cakes for weddings. She's solving that problem of giving a quirkier couple something that they exactly are looking for. Marie does body shops with skincare and things that will make you feel more confident. You are solving people's problems all of the time. And that's the biggest thing to remember when we talk about launching your product or service, is that when we come to marketing at the end, we are talking about how you tell them you solve their problems. But the ideal client group that we're trying to get hold of are the people whose problems you solve. That's basically it. That's your ideal client. There are some nuances to it, otherwise it would be a very short training. But that's what we're talking about there. So then when we are launching a new product or a new event, we need to have some sort of USP, so something that makes it unique to you. And again, lots of people get stuck on this. So your USP is what makes your business or your service or your event different from all the others that are out there. And it's what you offer that no one else does. And that doesn't necessarily mean what your product or service offers. It's what you offer. And we know people buy from people. There are a bazillion therapists around Chesterfield, and I'm still fully booked. There are loads of business advice that you can get anywhere on the internet, and still people come on my courses. This idea is that my ideal clients, I am creating products or services for them, but they're buying it from me. It is me that they are investing in at the end of the day. It's me that they are trusting to give them what they need at that point. Your USP could be related to your product or service. It could be higher quality or better value or whatever it is. But the general thing that small business owners have as their USP is themselves. And I'm thinking like Dragon's Den, and they're like, that's not your USP. To a huge degree in a small business, that's exactly what your USP is. It can be part of your service, the way you make people feel. So a better customer experience, if we're going to talk about it like that, it could be that you offer a better customer experience to your customers than someone else selling Body Shop. That's part of the USP. It could be that they get something, they get a download you've created on exactly how to use it, what products are complementary, how it goes with your skin, in cakes, how to store it, that you give them more than other people are giving them, and they perceive that value to be better. But developing your USP starts with knowing your ideal client. What do you know about them? What will make them want to buy from you? And as importantly, or more importantly, we'll want them to buy from you again in future. Because we can all get seduced by a product, but what will make them come back to you again? So we're really talking about this sort of stuff. So are they looking for something that's time saving so you can recommend, you can help them with the process, or some expertise where you can really direct them to which products or services they need from you. Whether you're more trustworthy than other people, whether you deliver what you say you'll deliver. Your USP can be one or more of lots of these things. Hang on, got a comment. Yes, Jen, I can. It's a 10 quid course, but it's the foundation for building everything in a business. Let me write it down to put it in, because I will forget. So yeah, your USP is your next part. So when you're creating, and even an event, so we've got Donna running a self-made women's kind of business showcase in October. It's how she promotes it that is everything. So she has speakers there. It's going to be a brilliant event. If you're not already coming, it's well worth it. I'm speaking, so obviously it's worth it. But the same applies for an event as a new product or service. It's all about your target audience, what your USP is to them. Okay. From there, we kind of move on to pricing, and pricing is the biggest frustration that I come across for business owners, in that we're scared of pricing. We're really scared of telling people our pricing. We are very quick and willing to negotiate on our pricing. But pricing products is kind of one of the most important aspects of your strategy. Even if you don't think you've got a strategy, I'm telling you, it's one of the most important parts. And there are lots of different pricing strategies you can follow. And some of these are a bit in depth, and there's stuff I will talk about on like strategy days. But what I see lots of people doing is kind of looking around the market, seeing what everyone else is doing, and then either matching or undercutting them. And that can be a big problem, especially in the craft kind of world. That's a huge problem, because a lot of the time then you end up making no money at all. So even if you get some clients, some customers, if you're making no money, it's still not a business. It's still kind of a hobby thing. And a really good example I use for the fact that you can charge whatever you want for your products is that Tiffany sell a gold paperclip. And I'm literally mean it is a paperclip made of gold with Tiffany on it in the teeniest letters. It's a paperclip. It's about £895. And I'm not kidding. The idea that you put your own cap on your pricing is entirely within your confidence and also ethics, I guess. Like how anyone ethically can charge that for a paperclip, don't know. How anyone can buy it, I don't know. But people do. And if they're your target audience, you'll be totally cool with that. But this idea that we justify our low pricing with ideas like people can't afford it, we're in a really hard times right now, all you're really saying is I'm not comfortable saying what I charge, or I'm not even comfortable with the value of what I charge. And it's a really hard thing to get over. It's something I got over really well in therapy, but even in business coaching, sometimes I'm still like, I'll keep that low. And I have to check myself on things. So you can kind of do, there's kind of 5 strategies for pricing. So you can do cost plus pricing, so exactly what it costs you to make it, plus a markup. So you get to decide what that markup is. On a Tiffany paperclip, God, that markup's massive. It's like ridiculous. But it's deciding what you're comfortable with. But when I'm talking cost plus, I kind of mean you're taking everything, the cost of your building, your light, your heat, your time. Like so many craft business owners do not take into account their time costs at all, not at all. That's a really, really big deal. So you can do cost plus pricing, you can do competitive pricing, where, like I said, you look at what your competitors are charging, and you either pitch in exactly the same or just below. Dangerous pricing game, if your competitors decide to drop, you're trapped. Like with all pricing, the best thing you can do is price it properly and show how you add value. Like that's the holy grail of owning your prices and being confident with your pricing. Value-based pricing is probably that. So value-based pricing is setting your price on how much the customer believes what you're selling is worth it. So for those people who buy a Tiffany paperclip, they believe that's worth it. And so it's finding the customers that are ideal for you, that believe and know your product and service is worth it. And there might be people you've worked with before, who you've been recommended to, someone else has worked with before, but you can price based on your value. That's much more what I do with therapy now. And that's really useful. You can do something called price skimming, and you can set a high price and then lower it as the market evolves. So if you can be on the front end of a trend for something, or you're the first person to kind of launch an event that other people aren't doing, you can kind of go in high then, but as it evolves, you can skim your prices down. So obviously, doesn't sound like a good long-term strategy to me. Price skimming is something I stay away from as much as possible. And then you can do the opposite of price skimming, which has a lovely name, penetration pricing. So you can kind of penetrate the market at a really low price, sell as much as you can, and then raise your prices later. Again, a tricky marketing strategy, because once people have bought it at a low price, how are you going to convince them that it's worth more later on for the same thing? Because that's not kind of the same as pricing evolving over time. That's intentionally, you've gone in intentionally low and then want to raise it later. There are 5 kind of strategies you could use. By far, the most recommended one is value-based. Value-based pricing is pick a product that's comparable to yours, find out what a customer would pay for it, find all the ways your product is entirely different to the one you're comparing with, put a financial difference on all of those things that you've said, mine is better, mine is different because of these things, and put a financial cost on everything that is positive about your product and come up with your price. It takes a lot of confidence to kind of do value-based pricing. You can work with me and I can talk things like this through with you, but it's a sensible pricing option. It makes you feel like what you're working for is worth it for you. There's nothing worse than creating something, putting a low price on it, selling loads of it, but still feeling shafted, basically. Just no point at all. If there's an established market, the current price range will help educate your customers about why it's worth that. But then it's your job to make sure the value to the customer is way higher than your costs. And the value to the customer can come from so many different ways. You can give them extra things. So you can give them extra freebies that come with it that don't really cost you anything. You'll see so many courses for sale with added bonuses, and they'll list 5 other courses that you get. Cost them nothing to add those on because they're already created. They've already sold them in the past. It costs them nothing. But when we talk about the value the customer perceives they're getting from that, it can add on a huge amount of money. But your job in all of this is to demonstrate to the customers why that price is acceptable. to them, which includes talking to them. It includes showing them like about their pain points and why you fix their problems, why you sort out any issues that they've got. And that's where value-based pricing really holds its own. And you need to know all this stuff before you even start creating a product to launch or a service or an event. You need to know what your pricing will be to cover all your costs and your time and make sure that this is all worth it to you and that you can show that it's worth it to your customer. Within all of this, you kind of have to set yourself a realistic budget for what you're creating. So this can be wildly different depending on whether it's an event that you're launching, which will cost thousands of pounds and can leave you in a lot of debt, potentially, if you don't get that right. So events can cost lots of money. You could be creating a new course that doesn't cost you any money, but costs you time, where you could have been earning money from something else, but is actually a very sustainable way of doing things. When you're talking about setting a realistic budget, you have to go from the end backwards and figure out, so if I create this course and it takes me 8 hours to create, what's my hourly rate normally? How much do I need to earn back to make that worthwhile selling? Is that realistic? When do I get into profit, kind of thing around it? You've got to know your budget. And when you're talking about budget, again, thinking of all the costs. So if you're going to do any kind of advertising around it, depending on what you're selling, lots of events will need advertising. Services and products might not so much. It completely depends where you're at. Jade's just arriving and it's distracted me entirely because I can see her out the window grinning at me. So yeah, your budget for events will be sky high. You've got to know that in advance, and you've got to be confident when you commit to it that you know what your pricing is going to be able to glean that money back. Hello. Hello. You all right? Yeah. She looks lovely today. You'll see her wander past to her new desk that I've just created. I don't know which way to lean. She's got a new desk. So then you're in a corner. So then we're talking about building a support network. And whenever you're launching anything new, you will see that the biggest and best, let's say best really loosely, biggest and successful people out there have some sort of support network going on, largely driven by affiliates. And affiliates can be a brilliant source of spreading the word if you get good affiliates that are completely invested in it, believe what you're selling, and want to help you do the best, and they get a kickback from that. Affiliates can work brilliantly. They can also be a bit of a waste of time, depending what you've got. So yeah, but it is a really good part of your support network. If you nail that right and you reward them well enough for them to want to work for it, they can be brilliant support network. But you always have friends, family, colleagues, people who you can ask to help you promote. You can ask to share your event, but making sure that when you're asking for this, that they have your ideal customers in their network. Otherwise, it's pointless. One of the better ways is other online business owners or other business owners. So if you are selling wedding cakes, you want to be teaming up with other online owners who are working in the wedding industry. Jade sounds like an elephant right now.
Sorry, I'm trying to be so quiet.
She's not being very quiet. You want to be teaming up with people in your industry that aren't necessarily a direct competitor, but to complement what you're doing. And even, although I've just said that, you can team up with competitors in the sense that you could team up with another business. So like on here, I have Venetia and Sharon. They're both cake makers. They do very different kinds of cakes. If people are going to Venetia for celebration cakes that she doesn't want to do anymore, having someone that she can refer them to can be really helpful, and vice versa. So, but you've got to find a way that it's collaborative rather than competitive. Your support network can be so much expanded, sure that's not a phrase, can be grown so much by having a good network of other online business owners. Groups like this are exactly what I want to create from things like that, so that there is that opportunity for us to all help each other in useful, strategic, structured ways, not just a bit of a favor for a favor kind of thing. So getting your event, your product, your service online, there's a lot more steps to that than you can imagine some of the time. So events are potentially a bit different, but when you're setting up an event, you need to have some sort of ticketing structure, somewhere you're going to sell the event. which all involves tech, basically. If you don't know the tech for some of this stuff, this is where you get to learn. So it's figuring out what you're going to use. These are the kind of groups where you go in and ask these questions of, I want to do this. What are your experiences? What are good recommendation ways for doing it? Because for just for creating an event, so you'll need a sales page where they can buy and you can tell them about it. You'll need somewhere where they can buy tickets. So whether you're using something like Eventbrite or even Ticketmaster, or you're selling them direct through your website. If you're selling Eventbrite, that's fine. They deal with the tickets. If you're selling it through your website, you'll need to be able to create tickets somehow and get them out to them. And email support, so that once they've bought the stuff, they can have this kind of information trail of email. So a confirmation of order, information they might need to know before the event. If they're at different levels of categories, so VIP versus general admission, you will have completely different processes for all of those things. And you can't almost just create the event in your head without knowing that all this stuff has to be in place before you even sell your first ticket. Because if it's not, you're losing people in that process. You need to create that trust in your event or product or service. Exactly the same thing for creating anything online. There is a lot of tech involved to deliver it well. And there are ways around it where you can make much smaller kind of funnels, a much smaller job of it. But I think it would be very hard in this day and age to think that you could create a product or service without any tech involved at all that would be big enough to be worthwhile. So even if you're just promoting it online and selling it face to face, you've still got to do some sort of online promotion generally. And if you're doing a bit of a launch for a product or service, there's a few things you need to be doing to make sure this is successful. So your whole virtual product or event launch, it's got to be memorable to people. And it also has to drive them to want to buy immediately where possible. You're getting a high touch with your client at that point. So you want them to be buying from you there and then. If you're launching an event, you want to be selling out tickets immediately. And to keep it interactive where you can and keep talking to these people, asking them to share, asking them for feedback on the process where necessary, especially if it's your first event. People love to help, but we often won't ask for it. And that can be really useful. Partner up. When I said about affiliates, getting partners in, getting sponsors in, getting people who can give you that boost you need, that little platform that you need to get things going. And a huge part of all of this stuff is finding opportunities to deepen your relationship with your customers. So even if it's not on a one-to-one basis, although I highly recommend that where you can, because generally as a small business owner, you actually care about your customers a lot. Lots of them become friends. You get to know them more than you would in any kind of corporation. Finding ways to deepen your relationship with them, it makes them more loyal to you as a business. But that bigger effect is that you start to like each other as people. Like almost everyone on here, I know in some sort of personal capacity now. And I've met all of them through work. Let me just check that's true. Yeah, I met all of them through business. Nobody I knew before business world, don't know what to call it. But the idea to deepen relationships, it makes them more loyal to you, makes them want to work with you. And it just makes your whole job actually nicer. So not even if we're just talking in terms of money, it makes everything so much nicer. When we talk about marketing your event, be discerning with what platform, what medium you use. Don't jump straight into Facebook ads or Google ads if you don't know anything about them. Really have a plan. Like I think I could have summed this whole session up with, have a plan before you launch something. And stick to your plan unless it's not working. But so many of us have a plan and then kind of drift off into all these exciting ideas, and it doesn't come together in any kind of cohesive way. So yeah, that's super important. Has anyone got any questions while I'm talking? Because I'm going to kind of just have a little chat on getting the word out with social media, because in general now that is the main way we promote things, is through social media platforms. I've got hiccups. But there are lots of things we can do within those social media platforms that will pull people into our new stuff. So one of the things, you could offer loyal customers a preview. You could show them things first. When I did this ideal client course, I showed it people in the group first. And I asked them to basically test it out for me. If it was interesting to them, test it out for me. Let me know if the tech works. Let me know how it goes, because I was using a new platform as well. But offering loyal customers and people in your circle a preview, great idea. Absolute great idea. You can have an introductory offer. Lots of places do. I've done it on some things, not on others. On events, lots of events. Tramlines at Sheffield is a great example. Is they have tiered pricing. So their first tickets are, say, 99 quid for weekend. Once they've sold 200 of those, 500 of those, it goes up to the next pricing bracket. So it is designed to lure you to get in as early as you can to buy the cheaper tickets. And they generally sell out of all of them. But the strategy is really, really clever, because they can commit to the event early on because they've got enough people buying the tickets early. Nothing worse than an event where you still haven't sold tickets a little bit before and people aren't incentivized to buy them early enough either. Because why would they buy in advance if there was still every chance they could get tickets on the day, but they don't have to commit then, they don't have to plan their life around it. So kind of an early offer can be dead useful. Make sure you're on Google My Business. You can put new product launches and things directly on there. So when if people search you and find you on Google, you can have your new product directly on Google's homepage, which is just a genius idea. It's so underutilized. You can run social media contests. Be careful. Literally, like and share contests are not approved by Facebook. You shouldn't, like and share and tag. You definitely, it is against Facebook's competition rules to ask you to tag people to be entered into a competition. Loads of people still do it, but just check out your rules, because if you do it and you breach Facebook rules, you could get your page shut down. Might not happen. I've seen it happen. It's a small minority, but there are other ways around things. So if you know you're going to breach a rule, don't do it. There are ways around it. Just make sure you know what the rules are before you start doing things, because we see them all the time, so we assume they're okay. Technically, they're not. Spread the word via email. This is one of the biggest things, and I've got to talk to Jade about this today, because I don't utilize my email list hardly ever. If you bought something off me, I bet you've never had an email since. And I know how effective this is. When I was in Life Lounge, that was so effective, was our email list. So Donna's at Comic-Con at Liverpool this weekend. I've tasked her with getting email addresses. Those people she knows are her absolute ideal client. If you're at wedding fairs, find a way to get emails. Donna's got a gold button on her homepage that literally enters them into a competition, but also tells them, because of GDPR, that they'll be subscribed to her newsletter list. Get people on your email list. If you are in a position where you know you are with your ideal clients, get their email addresses. You can send them things out direct to their email. The problem with social media is that loads of people will not see your things, your posts, but you can get directly into their inbox. And we definitely should be doing more of that. Our email list is our most valuable asset by far. Facebook could close tomorrow. And then what happens? You can get your word out with writing blog posts. There are lots of places to share blog posts. You can guest blog for other people, and you can put links back into your things. Creating your status as the expert in that area helps drive people towards your event. So if you're running a self-made women event, start getting into business women run communities so that you can promote directly to them. And then for some people, you could offer complimentary upgrades. So it depends if it doesn't cost you any more. So one of the things I will be doing when I eventually get around to creating my new courses, which are all done, I just haven't had time to deal with the tech stuff, is a little complimentary upgrade. So for people that have maybe bought 3 courses, I'll give them a 4th one for free, because it doesn't cost me any extra, but it starts generating more loyalty and more reason to buy. Kind of gives much more incentive to buy. So that, in a nutshell, is how to launch new events and products. It starts with your ideal client. It follows with solving their problems, showing them how you solve their problems, making sure you've got your pricing right, setting your budget and knowing and sticking within your budget, creating a support network around it of people who want to cheer you on and want to see you succeed and will help you with that. Getting it online, really recognize how much tech stuff there is to do and ask the questions about it if you don't know. That's exactly what we're here for. And then getting the word out, how you market it is huge. If it's a local event, you need to be marketing it locally. So finding out what organizations are around that you could potentially put posters up at, whatever it is. Really, really have a strategy, have a plan. So if I haven't talked about this, I'm running a strategy day for business owners on the 20th of June. So it's down here in Chesterfield, or up here in Chesterfield, depending where you live. There are a few spaces still left on that. It's a day where we're going to work through where you are now, and we have people in here who haven't started their business yet. So please know, if you're just hanging on the edges of I want to create a business, you can still come. I think there's 2 or 3 that haven't started a business yet, but have an idea what they want to do. We'll be working through the strategy, the bloody plan for your business for the next 90 days and up to the end of 2022. We'll be looking at personality types, so you can really see how you work as a person and who's really good to collaborate with you. That was one of the most eye-opening things for me, is when I first learned I was actually an introvert, because I'm so extroverted in personality, but actually I'm definitely not. And it changed how I did things, how I looked after myself better. So anyway, there's a strategy today on the 20th of June. Just pop a note to me if you want a link for that. Lunch is included. It's 10 till 4. It's fab. I already can't wait to run this. It's exactly what I love doing, is teaching in real life. So that's that, launching a new event or service. If you've got any questions, drop them in. I don't think anyone has. If you're watching on replay, tell me, #replay. And if you've got any questions, I'll come back and answer those for you in there. Jenna, I will post you the link to the Ideal Client course. All right, everyone, have a lovely, lovely week. I've already had 2 clients and my live, so now it's my time to just have a breath and make Jade make me more tea, because she owes me, because she was also off last week. It's very painful doing this by myself. All right, have a nice week, and I will talk to you all within it, because I always do. All right, love you lots.